success stories. And today I'm extremely thrilled and honored to have the opportunity to have a conversation with one of the most influential community members that we've had inside of the JSC community, but also one of the most influential people inside of my life. As this, so many different emotions have come up over this past week. Obviously, Verizon, making the unprecedented decision to release 13,000 talented individuals back into the market. And for Amber and I are both ex-Big Redders. We'll be able to, of course, talk a little bit about that and what, not just what V-Team really meant to us as when we were there, but also, how it formulates your life. And, it was a wonderful company while I was there. I think you could obviously have different leadership. We'll talk a little bit about Amber's experience inside of that. But just to address all the individuals in the room, Amber went from Verizon into the wild world of the current job market. And her story is what we're going to discover and talk about today. Again, she is a highlight. She is such a bright moment inside of our community. And I have to say that when it comes to what we stand for at JSCareers, it's really to provide people with systems and community. And when you find the right people with the right direction, resilience, I love the word tenacity. I think that definitely describes who Amber is as a person. But when you give them systems and structures and community, an individual like Amber will do way more than just find a job. And I think that's what you're going to hear was so special about Amber. So I'm honored to introduce her. As again, she's been that huge force inside of our community, and she has really rebuilt not only just her identity, but she's really overcome, I would say, workforce trauma, a loss of confidence, and on the other side of it is an individual who I'm honored to call a friend. And so, Amber, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Stephen. So all of that right back at you. Thank you very much for that wonderful intro. And I'm excited to share my story today.
Absolutely. And just, I also share this, that, if you're a job seeker and you're listening and you feel stuck, or maybe you just feel like your confidence has been shattered, one of the things that you're going to hear today is you're going to understand that you're born with strength. You're born with all the tools that you need. It's sometimes the world will pile down on top of you and layer these I call them bricks. And we have to be able to tear those bricks off and then put those bricks back in order to create a firm foundation. And that's what Amber has done. So as we jump in here, especially for someone who's got such a successful career, Amber, but you can't have all those successes without, of course, some form of difficulty, some form of suffering along the way, right? We all have to grow from these moments. So when I thought about introducing you today, there were so many wonderful things I could say, but if you don't mind, give the group a little bit of background of your time at Verizon, a couple big highlights, and then really what was the first moment for you where you felt like things shifted. So timeline, some huge successes, and then the moment that everything kind of shifted for you as a V-teamer.
Sure. So I was with Verizon for about 22 and a half years. And when I say grew up there, I literally grew up there. Had, so many just life memories there from my early adulthood to last year. I started out as a customer service rep, and I worked my way up into being a customer service supervisor. From there, I was doing a lot of stuff with the new hire program, and I actually became a customer service trainer. About, gosh, I can't remember the year, but over 10 years ago, they came to us one day, pulled us all into a break room and said, "Oh, by the way, your call center's closing." And that was traumatic. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I bet on myself and I took a chance and I applied for a retail training position here in Pittsburgh with Verizon. And I was lucky enough to be given that opportunity. So there starts my journey with the sales side of Verizon. I was a trainer for over 8 years in both customer service and retail. From there, I continued to work my way up and learn. I took the opportunity to work on some projects and found my way into instructional design. And I applied for a position, and I landed the role, loved what I did. Worked for a leader at the time, brought me back over from the kind of business side back over to consumer and said, no, we need you. And continued to work my way through. I wrote a whole customer service, retail to customer service training, put that together during COVID. And we trained over 8,000 employees to, come from the sales channel, the retail channel, to take customer service calls. What are we talking about? I love what I did, and I wanted to continue growing my career. So I took an opportunity to become a instructional design manager and basically put together content for leaders to cover with their teams every week. They were called Team Connects, and think of it as kind of like a huddle, like a team huddle topic that you would review. It was meant to be like a team learning or a team micro learning for different promotions, different processes, products, you name it, we built it. And it was a lot of rapid design. I would start a new topic on Monday, go all the way through the instructional design process and have it published and ready to go by Friday afternoon. It's kind of unheard of. But that's what we did. And I was really good at it and I loved it. Moved over when the consumer channel split. Again, they took it from we're an omni-channel, we're all one big happy family, and broke it apart to customer service and sales again. I was reassigned over to the retail side because I knew retail. That's when things started going bad. And there was a lot of back and forth, a lot of just toxic work culture, environment, a lot of unfortunately, I had a boss at the time that didn't understand what I did and didn't want to learn, didn't want to listen. I had experience with different things that they were building, systems wise, because what I use to train people, I'm the one building the content that goes in that system. People didn't really want to listen. So started just continuing doing what I could do and really just holding on, and just things started getting worse and worse. The summer of 2024, I was given the opportunity to volunteer to take a separation package, and I signed up for it. I wanted the opportunity to basically just start clean. I didn't know what the future would hold. I was scared beyond belief because I built my career based on work and putting in the effort and taking the feedback, asking for the feedback first of all, and taking it and putting it into action. That was a big part of what I did. I don't have a college degree. I had 7 different college majors. Could never figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up. But here I am, I'm an instructional design manager, and I'm going into just volunteering to leave. For me, it was the right thing to do. My mental health was destroyed. I did not even know who I was anymore. I would be done working for the day and just sit in front of a TV going like this, just to detox my brain. And it was a time where things are so volatile. I had 4 different leaders in 4 months. I didn't even know who to reach out to for different programs. It was a very scary time. My health wasn't the best, and I would never take the time to put myself first for a moment. It was always, I have to work because I have to be the one to do it because XYZ are on vacation or they left or they're out of business. That's not a way to live. So I was approved for the voluntary separation package, and I was one of the over 5,000 people that left at the end of 2024. And for me, it was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. It was the right thing for me to do from a cost perspective, from an income perspective, for kind of getting my life back on track. I found out the day after, I found out the day on my very last day with Verizon, after I went and I signed out and took my computer and everything up there, I found out that my father was diagnosed with colon cancer that day. I didn't know any of this prior. I don't necessarily have the best relationship with my parents whatsoever, but I'm like, can I at least have 24 hours to absorb this massive life change for me without having to worry about someone else? Like, can I have my moment for a change? That sounds selfish, but that's kind of how I needed to be at that time. This was a huge change for me, and I didn't get a chance to absorb it at the time because the next few months were handling, issues with my dad, different surgeries, surgeries that were not done the best, having to go back in and redo it. Luckily, my dad was okay, and they were able to take care of everything, and he was put into remission. But right after that, then you have the holidays, and oh boom, you have to deal with that now. So it was a lot of time where I didn't have the opportunity to absorb what I just went through because I had to continue to focus on someone else, and I needed to put the focus back on me for a little bit.
Yeah, and there's a
lot.
Well, it's always interesting to me how there is always more that happens in our lives whenever we have a moment of adjustment. And so when I think about so many of the individuals that I even talked to in this last week, Amber, that say very similar things. I lost my job. I just got laid off, but I have this. And it usually is something on that personal side. And, it's very complicated for us to all understand and to believe that we have to suffer in order for us to come out on the other side and be stronger. And that hard work really comes from that suffering and that pain. And we all do. It's easy in the moment now. We're going to celebrate here in a little while about all the growth, right? And all the amazing accomplishments and all the things you've done. But for a lot of folks who are sitting with self-doubt, they're angry because of the grief. And for everyone, if you are an individual who's just been laid off, or going through a toxic environment, there are stages of this. Yeah, there's stages of this. Like, you have to work through the emotions, and you're tired, and you feel just like everything is collapsing around you, and you feel like you can't move, right? And for those who are contemplating taking the next step, and there's fear of starting over, I think at one point or another, in us working together, you expressed all of those different emotions.
All of it.
So open up a little bit for our community here. When you were working through this, and you discovered JSC, what was the first moment that you entered the community with all of that baggage that all of a sudden you felt like something was a little bit different?
So I did have a program that Verizon did provide that, they do what they can. They provide you with some services, they provide you with some classes, but it wasn't enough. I never had a LinkedIn profile that I truly understood what to do with it. I never had a fully blown out resume. because everything was done in-house. So I was loading everything through, Workday or the internal profiles or whatever it was. I wasn't translating everything from here to here to here to make myself look marketable. I wasn't doing me that. And I attended the different, webinars that the other provider would put on, and they did the best they could, but it wasn't the support that I needed to help me, because I felt like I was starting from the literal bare basics. I didn't know what I was doing. And, to be completely blunt, I wasn't in the mind space to sit there and watch a webinar and not be able to ask a question. And I think that was the one thing that I knew when I got into JSC, and I connected with you and I met Tina through you. That was something where I got on the very first call and I was allowed to ask questions. And I'm like, wait, what? You want my questions? What are you talking about? That was huge for me because I didn't know where to start. Everyone's like, go on LinkedIn and start applying for jobs. But what? I need to build a LinkedIn. Like, I don't have professional headshots. Where do I get them? What do I do? I kind of needed, for lack of better terms, and I am calling myself, I needed my handheld because I didn't know what to do. This is like a very Gen X thing in my head, because we kind of grew up without the computers. Like, we had the Commodore 64, and then next thing we know, here's Apple computers, and by the time we are graduating high school, we have to take a computer course, but half of us don't even have computers in our home, right? This is how I felt coming out of Verizon and back into the job market. Everybody has the latest tech gadgets, and like this whole social media marketing. They know what personal marketing is. What? I don't even know where the job boards are. What are you talking about? So having someone there that was not judgmental, but extremely helpful and wanted to help me, learn where to put this and learn how to do it, and teach me what prompts are for Chat GPT, and teach me how to do all this. That's where it clicked for me that I wasn't by myself. Meeting some other people from the community, one I brought over, hi Allison. So, bringing some people over, but meeting all these other incredible people that, we're all kind of in the same boat. Where do I go from here? That was so helpful. Just having someone that would listen, and having someone that would truly sit down and work through the process with me. That was huge.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I think that we're thinking through a couple of the different workshops, and I know some one-on-ones, but I think the one of the workshops that really settles in my mind was the moment that you realized you could basically use GPT as your assistant, and you were off to the races after that. GPT became your build out, and you even trained some individuals in the community how to use GPT, which was even better, right?
This day.
Yeah,
Still
that's awesome.
Day. I was actually helping one of my new coworkers, an instructional designer, helping him get his Chat GPT set up. And it's so weird, but here I am. I know how to do it, and I know how to teach you how to do it too. So yeah, it's just, that one was huge to me, because you would see all these articles and all these posts on LinkedIn, like, use Chat GPT for this. Okay, but I don't want to get scammed. To go be blunt, I don't have the time for this. So how do I know that that's doing the right thing? Well, you showed me how to tell and how to build my Chat GPT, and are you kind of investing in it? Yeah, you are. You're sometimes, to do your best, you had to put a little money down, for a subscription to this or that or whatever. that's good. Because trust me, I've spent way more money on stupid stuff than investing in myself. And even just something like getting the ChatGPT premium subscription every month, it helped me immensely. It was worth it. It was worth that $30 for that versus going and buying coffee for 3 days. Like, come on. Like, and I am a shopaholic, and I will fully admit that. So I have spent the money on stupider stuff. I will show you the stupid Funko Pops all around my desk right now. So stop it. Put your money where your mouth is. And for me, I did, and it was so helpful. And I hope that that I will say this. Other than the ChatGPT courses that I got a ton out of, just something as simple as Mindset Monday and being able to start my week on a positive note. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm working towards. I needed the structure. And I think that's the other big thing that JSC brought me. It wasn't a free-for-all, like here's all the webinars, go and pick what you want and listen to it. I was given structure. Like, on this day we do this, on this day we do this, on this way we do this. And throughout the week, we're talking in the Discord community and helping each other and seeing where that is. As someone with ADHD, I strongly needed the structure. And it helped me. It helped me not feel alone. And it helped me have someone else to talk to. I mean, I met Linda. Linda and I got together and we went to lunch up at Panera out here where we live because, oh, by the way, we live like 5 minutes from each other. So we went and did that one day and got on calls together. That simple structure led to a community. And there are so many people in this community that are amazing and that are working hard. And it will happen. It's just nobody could account for how bad the job market is or what's going on with our economy or, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Nobody could account for that, right? But put the work in, believe in yourself, and actually follow the process.
That's awesome. And I think the cool part about watching you go through the system was that you then created the system for yourself. You took the structure. I mean, you even took a break. I mean, you were able to feel the confidence level come back to you, to take a step away from it all, to work on some real true personal things. And I think that was also one of the most rewarding moments, was to see you recognize that you were going to need a break. And I think what I thought was great about that was leaning into your silence and going into that space where you knew you needed some time, and taking it, building out your boundaries around that, and then moving. And I think, and I will say this, we teach the surviving and thriving mentality. And for an individual who went through all the things, and you can choose to share what you want to share, what you went through, but to be able to then balance your surviving, your thriving, and really put yourself in a position where when you came back from that, we'll call it a sabbatical. We'll call it a sabbatical. Man, the direction, the tenacity, the momentum that you had behind you was incredible. So let's talk a little bit about that, if you're open to share what all that looked like.
Sure. So back in March, I kind of took a break, and I'd started building myself back up. I was getting some interviews here, some there, but nothing was really clicking. So I found this as an opportunity to kind of step away for a few. And I'm terrified of the dentist. And I had put off going to the dentist, getting things done. My dental health was just a mess. And I was lucky enough to find a dental practice that, basically would help me out and give me brand new implants and veneers and everything in 24 hours. And not selling the product, but it's called Nuvia. And I was lucky enough to find them, go in for some consultations. I was approved for the process. And then I took that opportunity because I had to get, doctor sign off saying, hey, you're good, to go under anesthesia and have the surgery done. So I finally found myself a primary care doctor. I didn't have one. Everybody would ask, who's your PCP? I don't know. Pick one. So I found one, and she's great. Her name's Dr. Zoe. So found her and went and got, a physical, which I hadn't done in forever. Just basically to check on me, because reality is when you're sitting in depression and everything else, you lose a lot of weight or you lose a lot of energy. And I was getting worried about myself, because truth is I lost a lot of weight during this whole process. It was not a diet plan that I recommend to anyone, but that is what happened with me. And I wanted to get checked to make sure I was okay. And I did. Everything was good. I got it all taken care of before I went for my surgery. So 2 weeks later, went for surgery, and everything is great. We're 8 months in. And with that, I also quit smoking cold turkey. So we last week achieved 8 months, no smoking, new choppers. I can eat an apple. Like, I couldn't do that. I can eat a piece of watermelon. I can eat something hard. I don't have to stick to soft food just because of my own deteriorating dental health. I can actually do that. The day that I grabbed a pear, and ate a pear, I started crying because I used to love pears and I hadn't had one in so long. During that time, I also started going and getting my nails done again. This was something I did for a long time because it just made me smile. It was something that I hadn't done for probably close to 5 years. I walked in and I saw my friend, I go see, she does my hair. Her name is Bridget. And, I showed her, I'm like, I got my nails done. She's like, you are finally coming back. Welcome back. We missed you. Because I didn't know who I was. And all of my friends, and especially my husband, went through this with me. And they knew I had lost myself. They knew my mental health was a mess. And speaking of the mental health, here's something else I did. I told you I had ADHD, and I have really bad anxiety and depression and everything mixed in. I'm a hot mess of all kind of neuro stuff. But I hadn't been on medicine for a while. I went back on medicine because I needed to reclaim my own mental health, and I couldn't continue functioning the way I was. So, to recap, went back on some mental health meds to at least get myself regulated. Thank you. Went and got myself a primary care doctor. Got myself checked out because I lost a lot of weight in a short amount of time. Everything is good there. Yay, thank you. Got approved to have my oral surgery where I got my implants and my veneers put in. Full veneers, both sides, up and down. Best thing I ever did. Thank you. And with that, with the new BMW in my mouth, now I quit smoking. 8 months, cold turkey. Thank you. And now I'm going and getting my nails done again. Something simple and caring about my own self. So thank you. So those are things that we took care of to help reclaim who I am and to find myself again.
And what's cool about this is, one, it's amazing movement. But of course, while this is going on, we're seeing the unique professional growth, right? Yeah. So, and the interesting, and I've been doing this for three solid years in the world of, I would say, job seekers, and 5 years total with executives included. And to see an individual who did lose their self and lose their identity, but to see them come full transformation, and come back in as a real business professional and really start to show up as that powerhouse, not just for themselves. And we talk a lot about selfish and selfless, right? But one of the most selfless things you could ever do for yourself or for others is to fix yourself, right? And in your case, you created value creation over and over and over again by rediscovering your unique abilities, by really unlearning some of that negative and narratives, internal and external. Because let's not forget, we're talking about a 5-year situation here that you worked through here, and a lot of that came from your environment. It wasn't the separation of the job was actually a healing moment that you didn't even realize you were healing from, right? And so I just want to make sure for all the job seekers listening, they understand this hero arc story that is Amber, because that's really what it was. And so let's take this moment, right? So all the job seekers can really understand this. You know, that moment that it clicked, and all of a sudden you started to see that all that structure, those systems, that tactical support and effort that you were putting in, what was it? Talk about what worked, what was different for you, and when did all of a sudden all this personal growth, all that come together for you to be your unlock to move things forward for you?
So came back into the program probably early June, and kind of came back in there after everything was kind of healed up, and I felt, really confident, and I was working on things, and, came up with kind of a backup plan, like just in case something wasn't working. I had met up with a friend of a friend who was a real estate agent, and she's like, you know what, you would be really good at it. So if this doesn't work out, here's a backup plan. I'm like, okay, well, let's start working on that. But I still want to, do instructional design. Like, I believe in what I do. So met with Tina again, came back into the program, met with Tina again. I'm like, all right, girl, let's figure this out. Why am I not getting something? And why is something just not clicking? So we went through my resume and kind of scrubbed it again and dug in and found different ways to rewrite, reword, and then really, sit down with you and practice my interview skills. And when I wasn't with you and Tina working on that, I was with my chat GPT working on my interview skills and working on building my own personal brand. And that sounds dumb, but that's a big thing that people are looking for. Can I actually go forth and build, a story and be able to communicate who I am through something as simple as a visual, like a banner for your LinkedIn profile. That seems trivial. And do you really need it? Yes, you do. You need to stand out a little differently than everyone else. And the way that you do that is by coming up with a theme, coming up with something just to communicate who you are and what you bring. So I did that. And I really focused in on some of those different platforms, like Canva, and learning a little more about Photoshop and Illustrator and InDesign and some of these different things I hadn't done in a while. But I wanted to make sure that if I was interviewing for roles that said you need to know these programs, I could speak to them, or at least get my way through that interview. The other thing is I continued to apply for positions, and I applied for positions strategically. Here in Pittsburgh, I very easily could have applied for positions in downtown Pittsburgh. I did not want to do that. There were concerns that I had about my own personal safety. As a 5'0" girl, I did not necessarily want to be walking through downtown Pittsburgh at night. Those were some concerns I had prior to leaving Verizon based on where my office location was. So I was strategic about where I was interviewing. I wasn't against going to the office. I was against going to downtown Pittsburgh, and I stood by that. That was a value that was super important to me. My safety comes first. I'm sorry. So I really just continued working towards that, looking for opportunities. And when I wasn't, really kind of focused on me, I was focused more on the Discord community and welcoming people and building up something. This is simply, the positive vibes. And, those that know me are like, positive vibes? What are you talking about? Yeah, you have to find a way to be positive. I might have resting witch face, but I'm not that. I'm actually kind of a positive person when you get to know me. So I really found a way to bring that positivity and my really weird love of memes into sharing that with the community as kind of an icebreaker. Look, let's have something fun today. Let's do something different. Let's stop focusing so much on the negative of having 30 different job applications out there and hearing nothing this week. That stinks. We can't do anything about that. All we can do is just continue to pick ourselves up. And when we can't pick ourselves up, someone else is going to be there to pick us up, because it's horrible. And it's a horrible feeling. And all that positive momentum you have, when you get smacked down and have that uncontrollable negative feeling, you have to have a community of other people to pick you up and keep you on target. And I was lucky enough to have helped build that as one of the OGs of this program, so that, we had that community, and it's still here. Just checking in with everyone on Friday. It's still here, and I love it, and it's growing. And, it's just, you have to have that positive momentum, because it is a very scary place. It is a very scary time. So when we do have that, kudos to us. We have to keep each other grounded too with it.
Yeah, and I think the word that you used there, scared, it's very common for job seekers, right? And we do love absolutely everything that you did with the positive vibes from a momentum. It actually is really where we took the Mindset Monday concept that was a call for all of us to get on the right step. And then we, through other great community members and alumni like yourself, Michael, stepped up and was like, I would love to create a mindset post channel where everyone can go in and vent and speak about these things and get support and come together. And again, I think that's what's really been cool about this community. Just like the Vibes channel was your way of bringing the positivity, we've got trained professionals that are inside the environment to help bring that additional stability and structure. And it comes from the alumni community. It's from the graduates. And we're lucky to have 50 plus individuals who've graduated from this program at this point. And that's so crazy to me. And I'm so blessed to have great people like yourself and others who've done that. But the word scared is it almost comes full circle from where we were when we started talking about all those individuals who, you and I both were probably contacted over the past week or so from Verizon, but there's many other companies that have gone through it, right? And one of the toughest things is networking. Now, in your situation, you had to overcome. You had to learn how to post through LinkedIn and build that narrative, that story. You did this so well. But I want to really hone in on the networking piece for a second, because you utilized one of our tactics in the community, which was to really focus on all interviews as those value creation moments. You leaned in heavily that you are going to build such great relationships with people that it was going to lead to, of course, new opportunities. So you literally were the poster child for creating a role. But even before that, and before we even got to this, you took the idea of networking, right? And you took a online networking event and converted it to a local networking event that then led you to this, of course, connection to the job you end up earning. And you can tell that whole story. Talk to me a little bit about that. Before you land the job, go back to how you utilized online and in person to create the opportunity for yourself, because I think that's so unique, and you had to be scared and intimidated, and you crushed it. So talk a little bit about that.
So I'm not very good with networking. I will fully admit that. This is where I really struggled, just from the anxiety standpoint. Are people going to like me? Are people going to talk to me? It's very weird, right? So I took the opportunity to, go through some of these different online networking things that were going on with, ATD, so the Association of Talent Development, which is a lot of HR people and, training professionals, learning and development professionals, which is what I like to call myself, and, kind of go through those national type networking things just to meet different people. From there, I would also go in, and when people were kind of, when I would apply for a position, right, I would go and I would just start sending requests. Yeah, I want to connect with you. I want to connect with you. I want to connect with you. And I did that for pretty much all of the Pittsburgh recruiters. So anybody that was hiring, anybody that was maybe just in a recruiting job opportunity, I would do that. I would just type into LinkedIn, Pittsburgh recruiter, and see what happened. And I would connect with probably, it was probably at least 75% of them connected with me. Just cold connect. I did not reach out to them prior, say, hi, I'm Amber, I'm looking for a position. No, I just sent them a connection request. That is against what Stephen talks about, but it just happened to work for me. Now, where this gets wild is I continue to do that, and I did that with instructional designers, and I did it with companies that were looking for instructional designers or trainers in the Pittsburgh area. And this is where I found an opportunity with AAA. And this is a position that they were looking for an instructional designer. They want them to know, articulate storyline, which I use all day, every day in my past life at Verizon. That's what I call it now. In my past life, right? I use it constantly. They wanted you to be able to do Microsoft Office. I know that. Okay, I can do this. I don't necessarily know AAA, but I'm a member, so let's try it. Let's see what we can do. So I built myself my portfolio, and I have my own little website. Didn't know how to do that, but ChatGPT most definitely helped me figure that all out. Thank you, Chat. And I did it. I put it together. I applied for the position, and then I reached out to the recruiter, and I liked it. I found the hiring manager, connected with them. Every time I would go through any interviews, whoever I was interviewing with, I sent a connection request, and they connected with me. And I'm like, okay, this is good. The overall interview process was pretty quick. It was a couple weeks. And, there was a little bit of time there, probably about a week and a half, where I was waiting for an answer. I had gone through 3 rounds of interview already. I had my recruiter, my hiring manager with another manager, and then the hiring manager with his boss. And I thought everything was going great. They told me, we should have an answer soon. And it had been about 10 days. I didn't know what was going on. So I reached out to the recruiter, and I was like, hey, just wanted to check in to see, if you had heard anything, because if not, I have another opportunity. And I'll get to that one so let me pause there. So opportunity 2 came about through my friend, my past coworker, my past teammate, Victor. Thank you, Victor. But he applied for a position in the Houston area, and they unfortunately were looking for someone that was in Houston itself. I'm not. I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. However, after talking to the recruiter and talking to the hiring manager and kind of going through what happened there, they were ready to offer me the position as a remote opportunity, but then they went through organizational changes literally as we were on the phone interviewing, which is wild. So this Houston company no longer had the opportunity for me to be a remote employee. However, they had agreed to offer me a contract and kind of test it out. So that was my fallback, was opportunity 2 was going to be a short to long-term contract with this Houston company with the intent to hire me full-time. So that was not necessarily a full-time gig. I still wanted a full-time gig, so I reached out to AAA. Hi, what's going on? Have you talked, am I moving forward or not? And the funny thing is, they actually reached right back out to me and said, you know what? Do you have time to jump on a call tomorrow morning with the hiring manager and one more manager for a final interview? I'm like, sure, let's do it. So I did. And I was on that call for 20 minutes. And I just simply went through and reviewed all the stuff that I did on my resume examples, because, other than the questions, what they ask for with instructional designers is to see examples of your training content. And if you've ever left a big company, you can't take anything with you. It's all proprietary, intellectual property. So you are starting from scratch. And I had to, but that's okay. Because what I did was I took feedback from every round of interview and I put it into the content that I presented on that 20-minute interview, saying, you told me this, but let me show you how I fixed it. You told me this, but let me show you what I did. And I presented myself and I sold myself. And I said, you know what? I may not be a AAA trainer today, but I'm a AAA member. And that's even more important because you want to make sure you put your members first. And they're like, huh. That day, I got a phone call from the recruiter and they hired me, not for the position that I interviewed for. They said, we're going to hire you. We have a job offer for you. So don't necessarily give up on us yet. We need to finalize something. So give us like 48 hours and we will have it for you. Okay, this is weird. So I call Stephen and Tina and I'm like, they're going to hire me, but I don't know what for yet. And they said it's not for the job that they interviewed me for. Well, they were looking for a leadership and organizational instructional designer out of California. Texas maybe, but they really wanted it out of California. Well, what ended up happening is the final interview, and that manager that jumped on the call, her name was Courtney, and she was the one looking for the instructional designer for leadership and organizational development. She wanted to hire me. They just had to go through the process and move the position and basically create the position to keep me. So 48 hours later, she called me and she fully offered me the position and told me that she wanted me when she saw my interview and she saw my information come through. She actually reached out and said, no, I want her instead. And that meant the world to me. So yes, they created a position for me at AAA. And if I didn't know that, my very first day on the job, I met a gentleman named Patrick, and he was the one that was hired for the position with for instructional designer with the motor club that I originally interviewed for. And it worked out for the best because he and I get along amazing. We help each other, and we both ended up with instructional designer positions and couldn't, in the same office, couldn't be happier.
It's incredible. It's such a rewarding story. And again, I'm reliving the emotions of all of this. And I think for a job seeker, a couple things I would just point out is, if you lean in on creating relationships,
Yes.
you don't know where it'll take you. And I wish I could, as I'm thinking through current members right now, I can see their faces. I can think of the stories today. I remember how you felt when that
Yeah.
position was removed out of Houston. And I remember you just feeling defeated, and AAA was dragging their feet, and you were just going, I just don't know if this is going to work out. And you're feeling stuck. You were feeling kind of stuck, right?
Yeah.
And I remember you popped in the community, you kind of said some things, and you basically, instead of saying you were choosing violence, you were choosing positivity. And I remember you saying that on a Monday. And then, of course, I believe this in my core. We talked about it today, actually, on Mindset Mondays. You got to have a foundation of positivity. You have to have a foundation of understanding that there's gratitude. And since we're approaching Thanksgiving, this just makes sense. And you did that very well. So take you using all the training tools well. You navigating and overcoming networking scaries, right? You crushed it. Leaning into your technology, you crushed it. Taking and manipulating the system to fit you, which is one of our number one ways of saying, take all this information that is statistically good for a job seeker, take your strengths and apply it.
Yep.
All of that. But I still think the number one thing you did was you just refused. You refused to have, and this is for every job seeker here, you refused to allow a day to go by that you didn't get 1% better. No matter how many rejections, no matter how much bad news. And again, we're skipping past a lot of the turmoil, right? We're going straight to some of the goods. But no matter the day, you chose that you were going to get a little bit better in something, some part of your craft, building your portfolio, working through Canva, all of those things you did. And you just got a little bit better. And then by the time you were done, not only did you sit in that room, and again, I remember the call you had before you told them, and you basically threatened them and said, hey, look, I have this other offer and I'm probably going to take it. Like, I need to know what's going on. And you did it so well. You orchestrated it with executive presence and confidence. And so big kudos to you. Amazing. It really was special. Okay. So we're going to go into a little bit of a rapid fire. All right. So we're going to close this incredible story out with a little bit of kind of quick boom, boom, boom. Okay.
Yeah.
What is one thing that you wish you knew earlier in your search?
The importance of not doing this by myself.
That's a good one. That's a good one. How has this experience changed you personally, not just professionally?
I have confidence. I feel that I know who I am. I feel that I found myself again. And that sounds so cliche and so dumb, but it is the truth. I found myself again. I found my voice. My husband and I enjoy being around each other these days. Like, we're going to football games, for Pitt, and we're going again this Saturday, So we're doing things together again, and it's helped my relationship. I'm blessed to have had my husband support this whole damn time, but he even said to me, he's like, I'm so, like, you needed to be out of there. Like, I'm so glad you made the decision to leave and just come back. And, we celebrated our 14-year anniversary last month. And that was huge, because who knows where we would have been had I not taken the opportunity that I did and kind of put myself first for a moment and found who I was again.
I love that. The balance, the survive and the thrive. Again, figured it out so well. All right. If you could give one message to any job seeker listening right now who's in that dark part of the search, what would you tell them?
Don't. There is light at the end of the tunnel, right? And I know that it's just such a cliche thing to say, but I mean this. And I told this to my friend who was affected. One of my best friends just went through this with Verizon last week. So, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and there are times that you are just going to want to sit on the sideline and say, I'm done. Don't do that. Don't do that. Even if it's something as simple as you need just someone to know you're here, or you just need to feel like you're not alone, reach out to me. And this goes for anyone. And yes, I was in a different position other than a layoff. Mine was a voluntary layoff, guys. That's basically the difference here. I was paid to leave versus being told to leave. However, what I didn't go into was the fact that I was going through this every 3 to 4 months for almost 10 years. And when I say it was the Hunger Games, guys, it was the Hunger Games. And it just kind of came to a head last week. So I've been through it. I have been through every freaking part of this. I've had a call center closure. I've found other jobs. I've just finally said, you know what, I'm done. I'm done. I've been through it. You've been through it. It is much better on the other side, even though you have to put in the work. Nobody's coming to you saying, here's 15 jobs for you to choose from. You have to put in the work. And the very first thing you have to put in the work on is yourself and detoxing and finding that you are worth this. You do deserve to have some happiness, because Lord knows nobody deserves to sit in that much toxicity and just kind of live through that. You are worth way more than what you think you are. And there is zero shame in being laid off. Okay. Consider that they ripped the Band-Aid off for you. And now it's time for you to choose your next adventure. And you have a ton of people behind you cheering you on. I'm here. Everyone else is here. Steven's here. Tina's here. All the JSC community is here, guys. We want to help you. So we're here to support you. So help them out.
That's awesome. And I do think that the piece here that as we walk away is so important is, everybody's story starts off at a different place. And you started to say the quote, one of my favorites by Mel Robbins, which is, no one's coming to save you, but everybody can support you.
Yep.
And the key to that is, first you have to accept that you have to do it. You have to do whatever that hard thing is. You have to go through the suffering. You have to go through the pain. You got to, and we kind of opened up with that. So we'll close in this same space here. Yeah. But you then have to allow the support to come in. And you spoke a lot about investment. And I think that's key. It's not just financial investment. It's allowing others to invest in you. It's being open to the investment. It's the opening yourself up to the yeses. And if the very smallest thing that everybody takes away from this is this, Amber, your story is 100% proof that resilience grows in the dark.
Yeah.
It's not in the light. It's not in the light.
No,
right?
It's not.
And I thank you for being brave enough to come on and share some of those dark places. And I mean, you touched on the marriage and everything else, and it's not been, outside of my eye and what I see every day when we talk through on the Discord and the community, and how many individuals have seen their personal marriages wrecked because of the financial pressures or the toxic work environment. It's everywhere, but
everywhere.
What I want you to understand is you all can have a story like Amber's, and you can quit cold turkey, whatever X is, put X behind it. You can do anything that you want to do if you just make the first choice to invest in getting yourself a firm foundation. And if you find that firm foundation, everything gets a little bit easier every day. Doesn't get easy the next day. It gets a little bit easier the next day. So Amber, thank you so much. Seriously, I can't make the heart that you guys all do, but in the community, they all know what we're doing. Love you in a million different ways. Love your family. Love what you've accomplished together, you and your husband. And it's been a blessing to have you on here. It really has been.
Well, thank you so much. And you said I can't thank you enough. I'm blessed to have you as a friend now. You are officially in the friend group of my messages on my iPhone now. So kudos.
I'm honored to be there. I really am. And for anyone listening, if this story resonated with you, if you feel any of the things that Amber has, or maybe you just need that accountability to come in and put some structure around your search. And I welcome you into our community. Our Discord community is entirely free. There's no reason to say no to that. That is exactly the support that can get you started. And then once you kind of have a little bit of comfortability figuring out what you need, that's where you start to lean in your investment, right? And whether that is one-on-one coaching, whether that's the group workshops that Amber spoke so highly of, whatever that is for you, that investment becomes your investment. And that's truly what that is. And that understanding that will help you grow to design and where you need to go. I welcome you to come in and get to know us. 300 plus members in a matter of 6 to 7 months is just incredible. I can't thank the community enough. And I welcome anybody out there, not just Verizon, but all the different individuals who are being affected right now by the adjustments and flows of this current market. Please come be with us. Join the Vibe channel, get involved, meet Amber, have some fun, and ultimately just allow us all to come together to help drive and uplift you through your journey. And if you're looking for clarity, if you're looking for direction, and you're looking to find a job faster, then I truly do believe JSC is the place for you, and we'd love to have you. So appreciate you guys. And until we can come back together again, Amber, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. Go find JSC. It seriously changes the game.
Appreciate you, Amber. Bye, guys.